So this video will be the first of a series of setup tutorials on the Zhiyun Weebill-S. So these are the stuff required for setting up your Panasonic G9 on the Zhiyun Weebill-S. So first of all, you have your battery pack. I hope you've already charged your batteries for at least 2.5 hours, at least for the first charge. You need to install the batteries into the Weebill-S. So you can see at the bottom here, there are some threads. The threads over here. So all you gotta do is push it up and it will open it up and install your batteries. So plus is both sides on top on the right hand side over here. So we're gonna install the batteries. Give the plus on top, put the batteries in and then close like that. So that's all for the batteries. So next up we have the tripod. This tripod, it comes with a lock. If you are placing this tripod at the bottom of your gimbal, you don't need to lock it. You only need to use this lock if you are placing your tripod on the top of your gimbal. You can see the small holes around it. When you actually screw this in and lock it, it will actually lock in the hole. But if you're screwing it at the bottom, you don't need to lock it. Just screw it in as per normal, like that. Make sure that it's tight. Open up the legs and set it aside. Next up, you have your camera riser. I am using a Sigma 16mm f1.4 lens on my Panasonic G9. Even with the lens hood for this setup, you can see from the side view, even for this long lens with the lens hood, you don't require the camera riser. Unless you're using a much bigger lens than mine, you will need the camera riser. But for my case, I'm not going to use the camera riser, so I'm just going to set it aside. So that is actually optional. Then you have the quick release plate. So once you take it out of the box like this, what you can do is to separate it. Firstly, remove the lens support screw. So remove the lens support screw and the lens support. Put it aside. And then for this dual special piece of quick adjustment plate, we also need to separate it. So what you gotta do this, we gotta loosen that. You can see that it's loose right now. Press this on the side. Once that's loose, once you press it there, you can actually remove the top and split it into two. Then next up, since I'm not using the camera riser on this plastic bag, all you need is one screw. You are using the camera riser, then you will require all three screws, because the camera riser uses one screw and your quick adjustment plate uses two screws. But if you're not using the camera riser, all you got to do is get out one screw. Then you also need a coin, because we need to screw these screws. We can actually use a screwdriver or a coin to tighten the screws. And last of all, you need a cable for connecting. If you are using the Panasonic G9, you need to get out this wire, which is the micro USB to micro USB cable. You can see on the Weebill-S there is a micro USB port. The angle head will go into this part on the Weebill-S, and the straight side, this one, goes into your Panasonic G9 direction, and just put it into the bigger port like that. So after separating the quick adjustment plate, take the top layer of the quick adjustment plate, get that one metal screw, this screw over here, and then you will see, if you turn it upside down, you can see that the hole at the top here where the zero is slightly bigger. So you just need to screw the screw in this direction so that the screw pops out on top. So just take that screw and screw it in, and then just let it slide down just like that. And then next we're gonna attach this to your Panasonic G9. So get your Panasonic G9 ready, remove the lens cap, and if you want to remove the lens hood, you can as well. If you do require the lens hood, Zhiyun Weebill-S can take the weight of the G9 with the 16mm f1.4 with the lens hood, so that would be no issue. So just turn the G9 to the bottom. At the top here you can see the screw. So the screw is for the lens support. So make sure the hole and screw it into the bottom. So just use your finger and screw it into the bottom of your G9, and then what you gotta do is try to get your base flushed and in line with the back of the camera to get the quick adjustment plate, giving it the support it needs for the back of the camera. So just get it in line. You can, if you want, you can maybe stick it out like that, doesn't matter, but as long as you try to get it, I like to get it flushed like that. And then all you gotta do is use your screwdriver or your coin and tighten it. Make sure that it's flush before you tighten it. Use the lens support, so just put the lens support underneath the lens like that. With the screw, put the lens support underneath. Take the lens support screw, just screw it in. One way to get it flushed is if you hold it from the top, your left hand on top, use your thumb and your middle finger, if you can, reach and hold it down like that. Hold it down like that and just screw it in. So that would ensure that the lens support is flushed. And there you have it. So separate piece, all you gotta do is take the bottom piece, press on that and attach it to combine the two pieces together. And once it's tight, push in the screw over here and then tighten it as much as possible, and then we're done. So basically that's about it. So the only thing that we have left, which we will be attaching last of all, is the connection cable, the micro USB to micro USB cable. So next step is to actually open up your Zhiyun Weebill-S. So you do have the 3-axis, 1-axis over here, so just push it to the left and it would unlock, and at the top here as well, push it to the left. Sometimes it's a little bit hard. Okay, just open it up, and if you turn your gimbal to the side, on the left hand side, you will see one more at the top here. So just push it down and you will get it all unlocked. So now we can get it into position. So your tilt axis on the right, you got your roll axis and your pan axis at the bottom here. So once you open it up, you can actually lock it again. Just lock all 3 axes. So I got it all locked again in this position. So on this part over here, before we actually mount your G9 or your GH5 on to the gimbal, you need to loosen this first. This one goes to the right and this one comes down, so it will loosen both these screws and you can easily slide your camera on. And then you need to press this over here to let it slide all the way in. So it will balance because all the axes are locked at the moment. Okay, so once we've slid the G9 on, you can see this switch at the bottom here. You can actually loosen that so that we can do the balancing front and back. Now you can see that it's back heavy. So we need to push it to the front and make sure once it can stand alone without you touching it, it can balance. You can see it's slightly front heavy. Now you can actually flip that switch back to lock it in place. So this switch over here, and so now we got the tilt settled. We can now do the left to right. So the left to right now it's locked, so I can't move it, as you can see over here. So you just flip that switch to the left and you will be able to move it left or right. So now I'm going to unlock this axis over here, and now you can see that it's too much heavy to the left, so you just need to push the camera to the right. Now it's too much to the right. Try to get it balanced without you touching it, then you know that it's good and balanced, like something like this. So once it can stand on its own without you balancing, it should be fine. We need to do minor adjustments later on anyway, so You don't have to make it really that accurate for the moment. So we got the tilt, and now we're gonna do this direction. Oh, okay, so that already stands faces upwards on its own. You can see that when I flip it upwards, it's already more or less balanced. But if yours doesn't balance, the switch is over here at the top. You can see where my finger is. Loosen that, put it in this position, then you can actually move it back and forth until you can see now it's front heavy, so push it backwards until it can stand on its own, something like this. Once it faces upwards without you touching it, you can tighten the knob at the top here, this knob over here, tighten it if it manages to stand on its own. So right now we got the front balanced, and the left to right is also balanced on the tilt, and if you flip it up, that's also balanced. So right now we're going to come to the last axis, and then we should be done. So pretty easy to do the setup on this Weebill-S. All you got to do is flip it upwards like this, and then flip it 45 degrees like this, and if it stays, you're all good to go. If it doesn't, if it rolls back, I'm going to change the marking 45 degrees. The weight is quite light, so most of the markings are able to take the weight of this G9. It moves, then just make the adjustment again. Like that, something like that. It doesn't move, so we can actually tighten it. Testing it out again, make sure everything is balanced. You will have to make minor adjustments here and there. Like you can see right now, it's slightly tilting to the left, but we will use the auto tune button on the Zhiyun Weebill-S to actually strengthen the motors accordingly. But you just need a rough balancing like this. It's slightly to the left, doesn't really matter as long as it doesn't flip too much. So basically that's it. That's how you set up. Like I said, it will be slightly off sometimes, but it doesn't really matter. So yep, so that's how you balance your Panasonic G9 or your GH5 or your GH5S here. And the other angled side, this angled side must be going to the gimbal. If you put it the other way around, connection will not work. On the gimbal, go into your menu, and then you go under a spanner over here, and under the spanner you will see USB mode. So you need to be in PC tether mode, and your USB power supply must be on. If it is off, connection will not work, so you need to turn it on, and that's about it. So once you got the cables connected and you got the settings done, we can now power on your Zhiyun Weebill-S. So I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so the camera is still on. Now I'm going to power on the left hand side of the Weebill-S. The power button is at the bottom here, so just press and hold that. Screen, you will see USB power supply, blah blah blah. Just leave it, it will automatically disappear. So one thing to take note, if your camera is successfully connected to the Zhiyun Weebill-S, is that at the bottom you should see the aperture f1.4 or whatever aperture that you are at on your lens. There's an A there and a tick, and you see f1.4. So pretty cool thing is that you can actually control your f-stop on the gimbal itself, and also the shutter speed. So currently you can see on the screen I'm at 50. You can see I'm at f1.4. If I turn the wheel over here, turning it to the left, you can actually see the f-stop moving. So I'm gonna bring it down all the way to f1.4 again. And if you press the right button, you can see that I have the shutter speed indicated over here as well. So that's pretty cool. And again, if you want to change the shutter speed, you can just turn the wheel to whatever shutter speed you want. I'm going to leave it at 50. And auto ISO, you can also change your ISO by turning the wheel, and your exposure. If you don't see this menu the moment you turn on your Zhiyun Weebill-S and your Panasonic G9, you need to actually go into the menu settings of the Zhiyun Weebill-S. Okay, so in order to get into the menu, if you don't see these things over here, if you see just a big words PF, means that your camera isn't connected to the Zhiyun Weebill-S. So in order to fix that, you need to go into your menu. How do you go into the menu? Is you can see this dial over here, press the down button, and you will come to your menu. So in order to select the option that you want, you just press right, and if you want to go back, you press left, and if you want to scroll down to the second option, rotate the wheel. So if you rotate it right, you'll go down, and if you rotate it left, you will go up. So normally when I set up new cameras, I will normally hit the auto tune button. So we go to motor, press the right button, go to auto, press the right button again, you will see it auto tuning. So when you auto tune, you will see the camera vibrating, and then once it's done, you will see check OK. And if you want to go to the next option, scroll the wheel to camera. This is the option. Press the right button. You actually need to select what camera you're using. So if you're using a Canon or a Nikon or a Sony, I'm using a Panasonic, so I'll just hit the press right to select the Panasonic camera, and it should connect. After selecting this option, if it still doesn't work, you just power off both devices and then power it back on, and that should work. So we can go into advanced, press the right button again to select speed, smoothness, and deadband. You can go back to default options, then you can select the wheel, joystick. You can actually set the joystick reverse, calibrate. Let's see what calibrate does. I haven't really seen this before. It doesn't seem to be doing anything actually. Okay, so that doesn't work at the moment. And then you have the angle option, pitch and roll. You can actually set the pitch and roll if your axes are actually not working correctly. And then you got key, the trigger button, hold or click, function, hold or click as well. And the last option is they will show you your version 1.89, which is the latest version of this firmware for the Zhiyun Weebill-S. So basically that's about it for the menu. And also if you hit the POV button 3 times, you will go into this button over here, the POV button. If you hit that 3 times, you will go into selfie mode. So I'm going to hold up the camera now just to let you see going into selfie mode. So I've hit the POV button 3 times, 2, 3. It goes to selfie mode, and if you wanted to go back, just hit it 3 times again. Yep, and basically that's it.